She received a private photo by accident from the CEO, and when he heard her say it was perfect, he froze. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support truly means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or your country in the comments below. Thank you very much. And now, let us return to our main character. The soft hum of keyboards and low chatter drifted through the open-plan office of Hayes & Company, the kind of modern Manhattan workspace where the windows stretched from floor to ceiling and the espresso machine cost more than a month of rent. The morning light washed over everything in warm tones, but Mara Collins still felt out of place. Her reflection in the dark laptop screen showed her truth. A second-hand blazer she had ironed 3 times to keep the wrinkles away, shoes she had cleaned with a toothbrush, and tired eyes from a double shift last night. She was only a temporary assistant, filling in for someone on medical leave, and every morning she walked in with the same fear. One mistake, and she would be gone. New York was unforgiving like that. She logged into her company email, whispering to herself, "Please let today be normal." But the universe had other plans. A new message popped up at the top of her inbox. From Oliver Hayes, CEO. Subject: Morning draft attachment, 1 file. Mara's heart jumped. The CEO never emailed her directly. She assumed it was a document meant for the executive team, probably a contract draft or a schedule update. Trying to be responsible, she clicked on it immediately. 1 second later, her breath caught. Instead of a contract or a PowerPoint, the screen filled with a candid photo of Oliver inside what looked like a private fitting room. He stood in front of a mirror wearing a half-finished suit jacket, no shirt underneath, with measuring tape draped around his shoulders. It was clearly a behind-the-scenes tailoring photo, the kind designers use to track adjustments. The lighting made it look more dramatic than intended, and the angle made it seem more intimate than it really was. It was not inappropriate, but it was absolutely not meant for her eyes. Mara slapped a hand over her mouth. Oh no. Oh no. She leaned closer, squinting at the seams automatically. Despite her panic, the old instinct from her unfinished fashion design degree slipped out. Without thinking, she whispered under her breath, "That shoulder line is perfect. Whoever tailored this really knows what they're doing." A voice behind her replied, low and stunned. "Perfect." Mara froze. She turned slowly in her chair. Standing right behind her, one hand still on the doorframe, was Oliver Hayes himself, tall, impeccably sharp in a charcoal suit, and looking like he had just witnessed a natural disaster unfolding. His eyes moved from the screen to her face, then back to the screen. For a long second, neither of them spoke. The office around them kept buzzing, oblivious. Mara felt the world tilt. She scrambled to close the window, but her fingers shook too hard to hit the keys. I did not mean. I did not know. It opened automatically. I thought it was a document, she blurted out, each word worse than the last. Oliver lifted a hand gently, signaling her to stop. His expression was unreadable, somewhere between disbelief and embarrassment, with a hint of something else, curiosity. "That file," he said quietly, "was not supposed to go to you." Mara wished the floor would open up beneath her. Her throat tightened, her palms damp. She had never felt smaller, more exposed, or more terrified of losing a job in her life. "I am so sorry, Mr. Hayes," she whispered. "Please, just let me explain." But Oliver was not listening to her apology. He was replaying the only word she had said before she realized he was behind her. Perfect. Why would she say that? Who was this temporary assistant who noticed details that quickly? And why did her voice, shaken and honest, make his chest tighten in a way he did not expect? Before she could faint from panic, he finally spoke. "Mara, can you step into my office for a moment?" Her stomach dropped. This was it. The beginning of the end. But little did she know, this ridiculous accident, one misplaced photo, was about to change both of their lives in ways neither of them could imagine. Mara followed Oliver down the hallway, her pulse pounding in her ears. The glass walls of the executive wing reflected her own anxious expression back at her, making every step feel heavier. She had imagined many ways her temporary job might end, but none of them involved accidentally opening a private photo from the CEO in front of the CEO himself. Oliver pushed open the door to his office, a spacious room washed in natural light and framed by shelves of designed books and fabric swatches. It looked more like a creative studio than the office of a man who managed a multi-million-dollar company. "Please, have a seat," he said, motioning to the chair across from his desk. Mara sat slowly, her fingers twisting together in her lap. She braced for impact. Oliver settled into his leather chair and let out a long breath, the kind that hinted he was choosing his next words carefully. "First," he said, "you are not in trouble." Mara blinked, unsure she heard him correctly. I am not." "No," Oliver replied. "If anything, I should be the one apologizing. I sent that file to the wrong email thread. You simply opened it because you thought it was work." Relief washed through her chest so fast she nearly slumped forward. But before she could react, he continued. "However," he added, "I do have a question." Her stomach tightened all over again. Oliver leaned forward, elbows on his desk, eyes steady. "When I walked in, you said the shoulder line was perfect. You noticed something most people in this building never even think about. How did you see it that quickly?" Mara hesitated. She had worked hard to keep her past buried under the weight of bills and survival. But hiding it now felt pointless. "I used to study fashion design," she said softly, "before life got in the way." Oliver's eyes shifted with interest. "Fashion design?" "Yes," she said, trying not to sound embarrassed. "I did not finish the program. My mother became sick, and I needed to come home. I took whatever jobs I could find. I only recently came to New York because I needed the higher pay, but I still sketch. I still study cuts and stitching when I can. Old habits do not disappear." Oliver studied her as if she had just revealed a secret door he never knew existed. "You recognize the tailoring work from a single glance," he said. "That is not a habit. That is skill." Mara felt her cheeks warm. "It was just an observation." "No," Oliver corrected gently. "It was a professional critique. And you were right. My tailor and I have been struggling with that jacket for weeks. You saw what none of us did." Silence stretched between them, but it was no longer uncomfortable. It was contemplative. Then Oliver stood. "Walk with me," he said. "There is something I want to show you." Mara followed him through a side door that led not to another office, but to a private workshop. Rolls of fabric lined the walls. Mannequins stood in neat rows. The room felt alive with color, texture, and quiet possibility. "This," Oliver said, "is where our signature line begins." Mara's breath caught. She had dreamed of rooms like this since she was 13, sketching dresses on the back of grocery receipts. "I review prototypes here," Oliver continued. "I design pieces here. Most employees assume I am only the face of the brand, but design is still the heart of what I do." Mara looked at him differently now, seeing the creative pulse beneath the polished exterior. Oliver reached for the half-finished jacket from the photo and placed it on a mannequin. "Show me," he said, "what you saw this morning." For a moment, she froze. Then something shifted in her chest, like a door she had kept locked finally opening. She stepped forward, lifted the sleeve, and traced the seam lightly with her fingertips. "The slope is correct," she said quietly, "but the padding is half a quarter inch too stiff. It makes the shoulder look forced. If you soften the structure here, it will fall naturally." Oliver's eyebrows lifted. "You just solved a problem that has delayed this project for a month." "I just guessed," Mara whispered. "No," he replied. "You understood." He watched her with a look she had not seen from anyone in a long time, recognition. But the moment broke when Mara remembered exactly who she was. A temporary assistant earning barely enough to survive. "I should go back to my desk," she said, stepping away. "I still have reports to finish." Oliver nodded slowly, but his gaze stayed on her like he was trying to piece together a puzzle. "Thank you, Mara," he said, "for your honesty and your eye." She hurried out of the room, heart hammering, unsure whether she had just crossed a line or opened a door she never expected. What she did not know was that Oliver watched her leave with a thought he rarely allowed himself. Who exactly was Mara Collins, and why did he suddenly want to know more? Mara spent the rest of the morning trying to pretend everything was normal, but nothing felt normal at all. Her hands trembled slightly each time she typed. Her thoughts bounced between humiliation, confusion, and something she did not dare name. Every time she remembered Oliver's voice saying, "You understood," her stomach fluttered in a way that made her grip her chair tighter. By noon, she had convinced herself that what happened in the workshop meant nothing. He was simply being kind. He probably forgot the entire interaction already. CEOs had bigger concerns than temporary assistants with unfinished degrees. But when she returned from her lunch break, a quick sandwich eaten on a bench outside because she could not afford anything else, she found a small envelope on her desk. Her name was written on it in elegant handwriting. She glanced around. No one seemed to notice her. With careful fingers, she opened the envelope. Inside was a simple note. Please come to conference room B at 1:10 p.m. OH. Her heart jumped into her throat. She checked the time. 1:07 p.m. 3 minutes. Mara swallowed hard, smoothed her blazer, and headed toward the conference room. Every step echoed in her ears. When she reached the glass door, she took a breath and pushed it open. Oliver was already inside, standing near the whiteboard, scrolling through something on a tablet. He looked up immediately when she entered. Thank you for coming, he said. Of course, Mara replied, closing the door behind her. Is there something you need me to do? Yes, he said slowly. I need your opinion again. Mara froze. My opinion? Oliver gestured to the table where several fabric samples were laid out, each labeled with meticulous notes. We are finalizing the textures for the Hayes signature winter collection, he explained. But something feels off. I would like a second perspective. She stared at him, unsure if this was a test, a trap, or something entirely different. Mr. Hayes, she said cautiously, I am not qualified to make decisions for a professional design team. I am not asking you to decide, he replied, meeting her eyes. I am asking what you see. There was something disarming about the sincerity in his voice. Mara inhaled deeply, walked to the table, and picked up a swatch of dark charcoal wool. It is beautiful, she began softly, but the weave is too dense. It will not drape well with the cut you showed me earlier. Oliver nodded, noting something on his tablet. She moved to the next piece, her fingers brushing over a navy fabric. Instinct guided her more than thought. This one is better, she continued. The stretch blend creates a smoother line across the back. It will flatter broader shoulders. Oliver's expression shifted, surprised, impressed, and something warmer. What about this one? He asked, pointing to a rich espresso-colored fabric. Mara lifted it carefully. The moment she touched it, a frown formed on her lips. It looks premium, she said honestly, but it feels stiff. It would crease under movement. It is not right for a dynamic piece. Oliver let out a low breath. You are seeing exactly what I could not articulate. Mara blinked, startled by his transparency. You mean you agree? Completely, Oliver said. I have been sitting in this room for nearly an hour, trying to understand why everything felt wrong. You walked in and solved it in 3 minutes. Suddenly overwhelmed, Mara set the fabric down. I did not solve anything. I just said what I thought. That is exactly what makes it valuable, he replied. For a moment, silence filled the room. Quiet, thoughtful, charged. Then Oliver picked up one of the swatches and placed it into her hands. I want you to be part of a fitting tomorrow morning, he said. The design team will be there. I think they would benefit from your eye. Mara's breath hitched. I cannot. I am only a temporary assistant. I am not even sure I should be in those meetings. I will handle the details, Oliver said calmly. All you need to do is show up. She shook her head slightly. People will talk. They will wonder why you are involving an assistant in design decisions. Oliver paused, then spoke with a quiet firmness. I do not make decisions based on gossip. I trust skill when I see it. Mara opened her mouth, but no sound came out. No one had spoken to her like that in years. No one had looked at her and seen anything beyond unpaid bills, unfinished dreams, and responsibility she never asked for. Then he added something so gentle it made her chest tighten. And Mara, you belong in rooms like this more than you think. Her eyes stung unexpectedly. She blinked quickly, trying to steady her voice. Thank you, but I do not want you to feel obligated because of the accident this morning. Oliver's expression softened. This has nothing to do with the photo, he said. This is about your talent. The room felt warmer, safer, more real. But the moment broke when someone knocked on the door. Mr. Hayes? The design team is ready for your review. A voice called. Oliver straightened. I will be right there. He turned back to Mara. We will continue this tomorrow, he said. Same room. 9 o'clock. Mara nodded slowly, clutching the fabric swatch as if it anchored her to the floor. As she walked out of the conference room, her mind spun with disbelief. She had arrived this morning terrified that she would lose her job. Now the CEO wanted her opinion in a design meeting. Something was changing. And deep down, Mara sensed that this change was only the beginning. Mara barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, her mind replayed the same moment. Oliver handing her the fabric swatch and saying, "You belong in rooms like this more than you think." No one had told her she belonged anywhere in a very long time. The words clung to her, warm and terrifying at the same time. By the time her alarm rang at 6 in the morning, she was already awake, staring at the cracked ceiling of her tiny basement apartment. The air smelled faintly of detergent and damp concrete. She got ready slowly, wanting to look presentable but not wanting to seem like she was trying too hard. She settled for a clean blouse, a black skirt she had stitched herself, and the same pair of shoes she had polished last night. On the subway ride to Midtown, she clutched her notebook of sketches against her chest, unsure why she brought it. Habit maybe, or maybe hope. When she arrived at Hayes & Company, the office was still quiet. Only a few early employees were around, sipping coffee and chatting softly about weekend plans. The conference room Oliver had booked was at the far end of the floor. Mara approached it with cautious steps. To her surprise, Oliver was already there, leaning over the long table, reviewing sketches and fabric samples. He looked different in the morning light, less imposing, more human. There was a slight crease near his brow, like he had been thinking hard even before she arrived. He looked up when the door clicked open. "Mara, good morning." "Good morning, Mr. Hayes," she replied, trying to steady her voice. "You are early," he noted. "I did not want to disrupt the team," she said. "I thought it would be better if I arrived before everyone else." Oliver gave a faint smile. "That is considerate. But you are not disrupting anything. You are part of this today." Those words landed deep. She was not sure she deserved them, but she felt them anyway. Before she could respond, the rest of the design team began filing into the room. They carried tablets, fabric rolls, and stacks of notes. Some nodded politely at Mara, others glanced at her with subtle confusion. A temporary assistant sitting in on a design review was not typical, and their expressions showed it. Oliver cleared his throat. "All right, everyone. Before we begin, I want to introduce someone. This is Mara Collins. She will be assisting in today's review." A few eyebrows rose. One designer whispered something to another. Mara felt the weight of their curiosity pressing on her shoulders. She shrank slightly, wishing she could disappear. But Oliver continued, calm and direct. "She has a sharp eye. She caught details yesterday that we have overlooked for weeks. I want her observations on the new line." The room quieted. No one questioned Oliver Hayes, especially when he spoke with that tone. The meeting began. Sketches flashed across the digital boards. Mannequins wearing prototypes were rolled forward for examination. The team debated hem lengths, collar angles, pocket placement. Mara listened quietly, taking in every detail. She did not intend to speak unless someone asked her directly. But halfway through the meeting, Oliver turned toward her. "Mara, what do you think about this one?" All eyes shifted to her. The prototype suit jacket on the mannequin was undeniably sleek, but something felt off. Mara stepped closer, tracing a line near the shoulder seam with her gaze. "The cut is beautiful," she said slowly, "but the structure is fighting the design. The fabric is too rigid for the silhouette you want. It forces the wearer to stand stiffly. If your goal is movement that feels natural, this material is holding the piece back." Silence. Then one of the senior designers let out a thoughtful hum. "She is right. The tension points are uneven. I noticed it, but could not pinpoint why." Another designer nodded. "Switching to a softer weave could fix it." Oliver looked at Mara with a quiet satisfaction. He had gambled on her instincts, and she had proven him right. The meeting continued, and each time she offered an observation, it shifted the conversation. By the end of the hour, the energy in the room had changed. People no longer stared at her like she did not belong. They listened. When the team finally dispersed for a break, Oliver stayed behind. "You handled that with confidence," he said. Mara gave a small laugh. "I was shaking the entire time." "You hit it well," he replied. "Better than most people in their first design review." She looked down at her shoes. "I still think people are wondering why I am here." "That is all right," Oliver said gently. "People always question what they do not understand. They will learn." She hesitated, then asked, "Why me, Mr. Hayes? Why involve someone like me?" Oliver leaned against the table, studying her carefully. "Because your talent is real. Because I saw honesty in the way you look at design. And because sometimes the best ideas come from unexpected places. Mara felt something warm stir in her chest. Hope, maybe. Or the beginning of something she was not ready to name. Before either of them could say more, Oliver's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and his posture shifted. The press event for the winter collection has been moved up, he said. We have less time than expected. I will need all hands on deck. Including yours. Mine. Mara blinked. What could I possibly do at a press event? Oliver stepped closer, lowering his voice slightly. You have a perspective the media will appreciate. Authentic. Unfiltered. People connect to that. Mara felt her heart race again. This was becoming bigger than she ever imagined. I do not know if I can, she whispered. Oliver held her gaze. You can. Something about the certainty in his voice steadied her. But neither of them realized that. This unexpected involvement, her presence in meetings, her growing influence, was about to set off a chain of events that would shake the entire company and expose truths neither of them were prepared for. The rest of that week passed in a blur for Mara. Every morning, she woke with the same tight feeling in her chest, unsure if she was stepping into a dream or a disaster. And every morning, Oliver managed to pull her deeper into a world she had once only admired from magazine pages and street corner window displays. By Friday, the press event loomed closer. The office buzzed with tension. Designers shuffled down hallways carrying garment bags. Public relations teams rehearsed talking points, and assistants balanced trays of coffee like lifelines. The winter collection meant everything to the company. One wrong move could shift public opinion for months. Mara tried to keep her head down, but whispers followed her now. Is that the temporary assistant? Why is she in design meetings? Is she related to someone? No. I heard Mr. Hayes personally requested her. Every rumor twisted her stomach, but she reminded herself she needed the job. She needed the paycheck. She needed the insurance. Whatever Oliver saw in her, she could not allow it to become a liability. Around noon, Oliver called her into the workshop again. He was adjusting a mannequin when she entered, sleeves rolled up, focus sharp. It always surprised her, seeing a CEO who worked with his hands. Mara, come take a look at this, he said. She stepped closer, examining the newly tailored coat. The structure is better, she said. The shoulders have the right slope now. Oliver smiled slightly. Because we followed your advice. She opened her mouth to protest, but he lifted a hand. That is not flattery, he said. You identified the issue. You deserve credit. Mara looked down, her throat tightening. I am just not used to being heard. Oliver studied her for a moment. Maybe that needs to change. Before she could respond, the door swung open and a tall woman in a sharp navy blazer stepped inside. Her heels clicked against the floor with the precision of someone accustomed to authority. Oliver, we need to talk, she said. Then her eyes landed on Mara. Oh, I did not realize you were busy. This is Mara Collins, Oliver said calmly. She is assisting with the winter line. The woman raised a brow, polite but cool. I see. I am Claire Bennett from Public Relations. We have a problem. Oliver straightened. What happened? Claire hesitated, then handed him a tablet. One of the bloggers posted leaked photos from inside the building. They are claiming we rushed the winter collection and that the designs look unfinished. Mara's heart dropped. She knew how brutal the fashion press could be. A single rumor could derail months of work. Oliver glanced through the images, poorly lit shots of prototypes, half-finished seams, test cuts. Someone inside the company had taken them. We need to fix this fast, Claire said. The public needs reassurance. The investors want reassurance. The team needs reassurance. Oliver lowered the tablet. Prepare a press statement. We already did, Claire said. But for the event, we need a human angle. Someone who can speak to the artistry of the line. Someone the press will not expect. Her eyes flicked to Mara for a split second. Mara instinctively stepped back. Me? I cannot do that. I am not a spokesperson. Claire folded her arms. That is exactly why it works. You speak like a real person. The bloggers complain we are out of touch? Fine. Let us show them the truth. Mara shook her head quickly. I am a temporary assistant. I have no credentials. I have never spoken to media. I would freeze. Oliver stepped closer, voice steady. You will not freeze. You do not know that, she whispered. I know talent when I see it, Oliver said. And I know honesty when I hear it. Claire added. You talk about design the way designers used to, before everything became marketing. That is what we need tomorrow. Mara felt the walls close around her. The idea of standing in front of cameras made her stomach twist. What if I say something wrong? She asked quietly. Oliver met her eyes. Then I will stand beside you and fix it. Something in his voice, gentle but unwavering, made the panic loosen its grip. I will try, she said finally. No, Oliver corrected. You will do. He handed her a new swatch book, filled with notes and samples she had helped choose. Study this tonight, he said. Tomorrow morning, we face the press together. A wave of fear washed over her, but underneath it, something else stirred. This temporary job, the one she thought she would lose, on her first day, was pulling her toward a future she had never allowed herself to imagine. As she left the workshop, clutching the swatch book to her chest, she could not shake the feeling that whatever happened at the press event, everything between her and Oliver was about to change. The next morning came faster than Mara expected. She barely slept, spending most of the night rereading the swatch book Oliver had given her, whispering design notes under her breath, trying to memorize anything that might help her survive the press event. By dawn, her nerves were so tight she could feel them in her fingertips. When she walked into the office building, everything was already in motion. Large lighting rigs were being set up in the lobby. Public relations staff rushed around with clipboards. Cameramen adjusted lenses. Mannequins dressed in flawless prototypes stood beneath spotlights like silent guardians of the brand. Mara swallowed hard. She felt like an intruder in a world she had never imagined entering. Claire spotted her first. Good. You are here, she said briskly. We go live in 30 minutes. Mr. Hayes is in the staging area. Mara's knees nearly buckled. 30 minutes? Yes, Claire replied. Do not worry. Oliver trusts you. That is more than enough. But was it? As she approached the staging area behind a curtain of navy velvet, she saw Oliver standing with a small group of executives. He turned the moment he sensed her presence. Mara, he said, stepping toward her. You made it. I am terrified, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. That is normal, he said kindly. The fear means you care. He guided her to a quiet corner, away from the noise and scrambling staff. For a moment, the world softened. You do not need a script, Oliver said. Just speak about what you see. Speak from the same honesty you had in the workshop. That honesty is the soul of this collection. Mara shook her head slightly. What if people think I do not belong here? Oliver paused, looking directly into her eyes. Then they will be wrong, he said. You belong here because you earned it. The words steadied her more than she expected. A coordinator poked her head in. Mr. Hayes, we are ready for you. Oliver nodded. He offered his hand to Mara, steady, reassuring. Walk with me, he asked. She hesitated. For half a breath, then placed her hand in his. His grip was firm, warm, grounding. They stepped onto the platform together. The lights brightened. Cameras shifted toward them. A wave of voices rippled through the crowd as reporters leaned forward. Oliver opened the event with practiced ease, introducing the winter collection, the company's vision, and the evolution of their design approach. Then, to Mara's shock, he said, and today, I want to share insight from someone whose eye has shaped this collection more than she realizes. He gestured to her. Mara felt every muscle tighten, but she stepped forward. A reporter raised a hand immediately. Miss Collins, is it true you are not part of the official design team? Mara inhaled slowly. That is correct, she said truthfully. I am a temporary assistant. A murmur swept through the room. But, she continued, design is something I have studied and loved for years. And what I see in this collection is craftsmanship with purpose. Every piece is made to move with the wearer, not against them. The lines are intentional. The textures are chosen to bring comfort, confidence, and authenticity. The murmurs quieted. Another reporter spoke up. Are you saying the collection represents a return to fundamentals? Mara nodded. Yes, it represents design that listens. Oliver watched her, a mixture of pride and something deeper flickering in his eyes. The questions kept coming, but each answer felt smoother, more natural. By the time the session ended, cameras clicked rapidly, and even Claire looked impressed. When the crowd dispersed, Oliver stepped beside her. You did more than well, he said softly. You saved this event. Mara let out a breath she had been holding for hours. I cannot believe that just happened. He smiled. Believe it. But before she could enjoy the moment, a voice cut through the air. Mr. Hayes, a word? A stern-looking board member approached them, eyes sharp, expression unreadable. He glanced at Mara with a dismissive flicker. Who exactly is this assistant? He asked harshly. And why is she involved in design? Oliver's jaw tightened, and Mara realized, with a sinking feeling, that the real battle was just beginning. The board member's tones sliced through the air like a cold wind. Mr. Hayes, I would like to know why a temporary assistant is representing our company on a press stage, he said, his eyes narrowing at Mara. As if she were a stain on the carpet. Mara felt her stomach twist. The confidence she had built over the last hour trembled at the edges. She lowered her gaze, ready to step back, ready to apologize for simply existing in the wrong place. But Oliver stepped forward before she could move. Because she deserved to be there, Oliver said evenly. Her insight strengthened this collection, and her honesty connected with the press in a way our marketing never could. The board member scoffed. Do not romanticize this, Oliver. You put the company at risk. Investors are asking why an assistant is influencing design decisions. They are questioning your judgment. More people gathered. A few executives lingered nearby, whispering under their breath. The tension thickened, and Mara felt painfully exposed. I asked for her perspective, Oliver continued. What she contributed was meaningful. The board member crossed his arms. You are letting sentiment cloud your leadership. Mara felt the words hit Oliver like a blow. His jaw tightened. His shoulders straightened. But he stayed calm. There is no sentiment, he said. There is talent. And I recognized it. The board member turned sharply toward Mara. Miss Collins, is that your plan? To climb through this company using sympathy, influence, or perhaps something else? Heat rushed to Mara's face. No, sir, she said quietly. I never asked for any of this. I only did what Mr. Hayes requested. Convenient answer, he muttered. Oliver's voice hardened. That is enough. But the damage was already done. Mara felt the eyes, the judgment, the silent accusations. She could not bear it. I should go, she whispered. I need to return to my desk. Mara. Oliver reached toward her, but she stepped back. Thank you for trusting me today, she said, her voice thinning at the edges. But I do not want to cause issues for you. Or the company. Before he could stop her, she turned and walked quickly toward the hallway, head down, vision blurring at the corners. The noise of the event faded behind her until all she heard was the echo of her own footsteps. She did not stop until she reached an empty corridor near the break room. She pressed a hand against the cool wall, trying to steady her breathing. Why had she let herself believe, even for a moment, that she belonged here? A few minutes later, she heard the soft tap of dress shoes approaching. She already knew who it was. Mara, Oliver said gently. Please do not walk away like that. She wiped her eyes quickly. I should not have been on that stage. It caused trouble. I should have known my place. Your place? Oliver repeated, disbelief coloring his voice. Your place is wherever your talent takes you. She shook her head. People will think I am trying to use you. That I want something from you. Oliver stepped closer, his voice low but steady. I know your intentions. I know your work. And I will make that clear to anyone who questions it. But they are right, Mara whispered. I am just an assistant. I do not have a degree. I do not have a title. I cannot stand next to you without people assuming the worst. Oliver hesitated, his expression shifting, somewhere between frustration and something softer. You think I care about titles? He said quietly. Mara, what you did today was brave. You spoke with honesty that people in this industry forgot a long time ago. You have nothing to apologize for. She looked away, unable to meet his eyes. It is easier for you to say that. You are the CEO. You belong everywhere. I do not. He opened his mouth to respond, but another voice interrupted. Mr. Hayes, we need you in the debrief, Claire called from the far end of the hallway. Oliver did not look away from Mara. Give me 1 minute. Claire nodded and stepped back. Oliver lowered his voice. I will fix this. I promise you that. Do not let anyone make you feel small for having talent. Mara swallowed hard. I just need some time. He nodded slowly, reluctantly. All right. But this conversation is not over. Oliver stepped back, giving her one last searching look before he walked away with Claire. When the hallway finally fell silent again, Mara let out a shaky breath. She had thought the press event would be the hardest part of the day. She was wrong. The hardest part was realizing that the closer she stepped into Oliver's world, the more she risked losing herself in the shadows his world cast. Mara stayed in the quiet hallway long after Oliver left, her thoughts spiraling in heavy circles. The farther she stepped into his world, the clearer it became that every step came with consequences. She wanted to be proud of what she had done at the press event, but all she could feel was the sting of judgment, the way the board member had looked at her as if she were a problem to be removed. By the time she finally returned to her desk, the building had settled into a tense hush. People were still working, but the earlier storm of excitement had faded into low voices and hurried emails. When she sat down, she saw an envelope waiting for her. Her heart tightened. Another confrontation? Another summons? But when she opened it, the breath caught in her throat. Inside was a single handwritten note. Meet me on the rooftop at 7. OH. Mara looked at the clock. 6:42 p.m. She should ignore it. She should go home. She should stay away from anything that made her look closer to Oliver than she actually was. But something inside her, something quieter than fear but stronger than doubt, told her to go. At exactly 7, she stepped out onto the rooftop terrace. The city stretched around her in every direction, glittering with the night lights of Manhattan. A soft breeze brushed against her face, carrying the faint scent of rain on metal and warm pavement. Oliver stood near the railing, jacket off, sleeves rolled to his forearms. He looked tired, thoughtful, like he had been replaying the same memories she had all day. He turned when he heard her steps. Mara, he said gently. Thank you for coming. She wrapped her arms around herself. What did you want to talk about? Oliver took a few steps closer. Not too close, but close enough that she could see the sincerity in his expression. I know today was difficult, he said, and I know I should have protected you better. You tried, she whispered. But that board member, he was right about one thing. People will talk. They already are. I do not care what they say, Oliver replied. I care about the truth. And the truth is that you have done more for this collection than anyone realizes. Mara shook her head. It does not matter. People will see me as an assistant trying to climb too high. They will not see talent. They will only see someone who does not belong. Oliver's expression tightened, not with anger, but with quiet frustration. That is not how I see you, he said. The rooftop fell into a soft silence. Car horns hummed below. A breeze lifted a loose strand of hair from her cheek. Mara, Oliver continued, you brought honesty back into this company. You reminded my team what design is supposed to feel like. And you reminded me what it means to create with purpose. That is not something I will ignore. She looked away quickly. You give me too much credit. I do not give you enough, Oliver said. She felt her heartbeat rise, quicker and quicker, but she forced herself to speak. You are the CEO, Oliver. You can stand up to anyone. But I cannot. I do not have the power to fight these people. Oliver stepped closer, his voice softer than she had ever heard. Then let me stand with you, he said. The words hit her deeper than she expected. She swallowed hard. But why? Why go through all of this for me? Oliver hesitated, and for the first time since she met him, he looked almost vulnerable. Because I believe in you, he said. Because your voice matters. And because the world would be poorer if your talent stayed hidden. Heat rose behind Mara's eyes. She blinked rapidly, refusing to cry. I do not know if I can keep doing this, she whispered. I do not know if I am strong enough to be in your world. Oliver shook his head gently. You are already stronger than you think. Silence wrapped around them again, quiet, heavy, meaningful. Then Oliver reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. He held it out to her. It was the fabric swatch she had chosen on her first real day in the workshop, the same one she had held when he told her she belonged. I kept this, he said, because it reminded me of your clarity, and because it reminded me of a moment when everything changed for this collection. Mara held the swatch delicately, as if it were fragile glass. Why give it to me now, she asked. Because it is yours, Oliver said. And because I want you to remember that no matter what anyone says, you changed this company for the better. Her throat tightened. Her hands shook just slightly as she closed her fingers around the fabric. For the first time that day, she felt something warm bloom inside her chest. Hope. But neither of them knew that the peace on that rooftop would be short-lived. Because while they stood beneath the Manhattan sky, someone inside the building hit send on an email that would change everything. An email that would drag Mara's name into the spotlight in the worst possible way. The email went out at 7:43 p.m. Mara did not see it. Oliver did not see it, but the entire corporate office did. An anonymous message blasted through the company-wide mailing list, containing a blurry photo from the press event. Mara standing beside Oliver, explaining the winter collection. The subject line read, "Why is a temporary assistant influencing our designs?" By the next morning, whispers filled every hallway. Mara felt them before she even reached her desk. Tight, prickling, impossible to ignore. People looked at her with suspicion, curiosity, and in some cases, thinly veiled resentment. She sat down quietly, gripping the edge of her chair to anchor herself. Her computer pinged with message after message, each one making her chest tighten. She knew this would come. She knew the moment she stood beside Oliver under those bright lights, judgment would follow. But knowing did not make it hurt less. Before she could gather her thoughts, Claire appeared at her desk. "Mara," she said gently, "Mr. Hayes wants to see you in the presentation hall." Now, Mara's stomach dropped. She stood slowly, preparing for the worst. Maybe they were cutting her assignment early. Maybe the board demanded her removal. Maybe she had become a liability too big to defend. When she entered the hall, she froze. Every department head was there. Several senior designers. Members of the board. Oliver stood at the front with a calm, controlled posture that radiated authority. Her heart pounded. "Mr. Hayes." Oliver raised a hand gently, stopping her. "Mara," he said, "please stand beside me." She hesitated, but he nodded once. The quiet reassurance in his eyes made her step forward. Oliver addressed the room. "Before we begin, I want to make something very clear." He clicked a remote, and behind him, the large screen lit up. Not with the leaked email, but with a collage of sketches, notes, and fabric selections. All of them were Mara's contributions. "This," Oliver said, "is the work of someone who saved our winter collection." Murmurs rippled through the room. "While some of you questioned her presence," he continued, "you did not question the results. Mara identified structural issues our team overlooked, contributed design clarity when we needed it most, and represented this company with authenticity when the press tried to undermine us." He shifted his gaze around the room, sharp but controlled. "So let me be absolutely clear," Oliver said. "The disrespect she has faced ends today." The room fell silent. Then he turned toward Mara, his voice softening. "And for those who keep asking who she is, let me answer plainly." He took a step closer. "Mara Collins is the reason this collection will succeed. And if anyone cannot recognize talent unless it comes with a title, that is their failure, not hers." Mara felt warmth gather behind her eyes, but this time it was not shame. It was something else, something powerful. Oliver looked at her fully now, not caring who watched. "Mara," he said, "you have changed this company, and I want you to stay, not as a temporary assistant, but as part of the design team." She gasped softly. "Are you serious?" "Yes," he said. "If you want it, the position is yours." Her voice shook. "I do not know what to say." "Say yes," Oliver replied gently. "Say you believe in yourself as much as I believe in you." The room blurred around her. The pain from the past days, the rejection, the doubt, the whispers, they all dissolved beneath the weight of one overwhelming truth. She had earned this. Yes," she whispered. "I want to stay." Applause rose around them, hesitant at first, then growing stronger. Even the board member who had confronted her earlier nodded stiffly, accepting reality. Mara exhaled shakily, relief flooding through her. But Oliver was not done. He reached into his pocket and held out the small fabric swatch she had given him on the rooftop, the one he had returned to her as a reminder of her worth. Except now, there was something new stitched onto the corner. M.C. Designer in Residence. Mara covered her mouth, stunned. "This is your beginning," Oliver said softly. "Not your ending." She took the swatch with trembling hands. "Thank you for fighting for me." "I did not fight," Oliver said. "I simply chose the truth." Their eyes held for a quiet, powerful moment, one that said more than either of them dared to speak aloud. As the meeting ended, and the others filtered out, Oliver leaned toward her with a small, sincere smile. "Ready to design the future?" he asked. Mara smiled back, confidence blooming where fear once lived. "Yes," she said. "I am ready." And just like that, the girl who once believed she did not belong in his world stepped forward, not as an assistant, but as a designer with a voice, a purpose, and a future she finally allowed herself to claim.